I'm Nicole Balashi, I'm the Program Director of Safe Harbor Cohasset Coalition. We have Emily in the back, who is our project coordinator. And then we have Kristen Essen here, who is per diem, really the contact if you ever do need Narcan here at East Coast Recovery, and then also the director over at South Shore Peer Recovery in Weymouth. So Narcan here in Cohasset is available free 24/7. Well, it is here and accessible, so if you ever do find that you need more, you're all welcome to leave here, and I encourage you to leave here with Narcan. But if you ever feel like you need more, you have a loved one or a friend, or come in contact with someone at work that you just feel like they need Narcan as well, just let them know that this is where you can get it. Yeah, our goal really is to just destigmatize Narcan. There's really no harm to having it on your person. And as the town of Cohasset, we will be putting kits together, and they're just going to be sprinkled throughout the town as well. So they'll be at the library, at the town hall, at the rec center, just so that it's available, and just taking the stigma out of it that you can just grab it whenever you need. I'm going to really briefly talk about what opiates are, what an overdose is, what it looks like, and then what to do in the event of an overdose. So what is an opioid? There are our illicit or prescription opiates, so your Percocets, your Vicodins, if you get your wisdom teeth out, you have a C-section, it's really all for pain management. Those are your prescription medications. And then we have the street opiates that we hear more about in the media, so heroin, fentanyl, now carfentanil. I do want to highlight xylazine. I'm sure if you're hearing in the news, xylazine, that is not an opiate. We'll talk a little bit more about that. That's a tranquilizer, but we're seeing that more cut within the opiates as well. And then our medications for opiate or opioid treatment, so MAT. So for those who are addicted, there are medications out there that treat those individuals to, you'll see what I mean by normal, but to live a normal life. I have all these different opiates that I just mentioned. Methadone is one of those opiates that treat addiction, so medication for addiction. The duration within your body, so how long does that quote unquote high or effect, euphoria, whatever it may be, how long does that last within your body? We have fentanyl that lasts the least, but the potency is the strongest, and that's where we see it being higher risk, because you have a short time where it's within your body and it's causing this high, but it's a lot more potent. So we see people using more often, and that's where we see overdoses occur, affecting all drug users, and even those who don't even realize that they're using it. And what I mean by that, I'm not even gonna wait, because I think it's
marijuana.
Yes, because I think it's very important. So we're seeing more and more, marijuana, cocaine, pressed pills. Those are being cut with fentanyl. And what do I mean by pressed pills? So that could be Adderall. We see a lot of youth who use or misuse Adderall, getting it from off the market. That's getting cut with fentanyl, and we're seeing overdoses occurring there. Marijuana is being cut with it, unintentionally, intentionally, just because of the mix of drugs. And so, Kristen, I don't know if you want to share your story really quick.
Yeah, definitely. So I was at a concert. I met him and a couple of his buddies up at the Casino Beach Club in Hampton Beach. I didn't know his friends. My friend is a little bit older, so his friends were probably like early 60s. They're used to like Woodstock marijuana, and it's just nothing is as it appears anymore. So we're at this concert, it's general admission, people are starting to crowd in. So my friend's friend was like standing beside me, and like we're all like pushed up against each other, and he was starting to say that his back was bothering him, and he forgot I guess he takes gummies for the pain. So he didn't have them with him. So as the concert starts, people start lighting up, they're smoking pot, and someone suggested, oh, well, why don't you take a hit of this guy's joint, thinking it was harmless. And I'm like, don't do it, absolutely not. So lo and behold, He ends up like tapping the person on the back, they pass it back. Now these two characters that were in front of me, they were like on a whole nother high. So not knowing exactly what they were doing, but it was very evident to me after like they passed the joint back and forth probably like 2 or 3 times. The gentleman that was my friend's friend, he was probably about 6'2". Within a couple hits, he went down like a tree. Wow. So immediately, like I always carry Narcan on my person. So knowing this, like I'm immediately like reaching into my bag, trying to like clear out a space. And his friends are like, oh no, he's just, he had a couple drinks and now he's just high, and they're trying to like stand him back up. I'm like, don't let him go, don't let him go. Lo and behold, they let him go and he hits the ground again. At this point, like the paramedics were called, and I suggested that they hit him with naloxone as they came in. And I asked my friend, once they ended up bringing him to the hospital, to have them do a toxicology report, and the toxicology came back, he tested positive for fentanyl. And he just thought he was taking a couple hits off of a joint at a concert, like he used to do back in the 60s. So like nothing is as it appears. And I've been a nurse for over 20 years, and a lot of times like through the emergency room too, I've had patients that are like, oh, I was just doing cocaine, like I wasn't doing fentanyl. But fentanyl is in every.
Some of these can last in your body for longer than 30 to 90 minutes. So anyone, if you use Narcan, they still need to have medical attention. So you always call 911 in the event of an overdose. Narcan is just essentially getting someone stable until the right personnel can come. Correct, it's Band-Aid. Because once that Narcan wears off, there is the potential that these opiates can reattach. Alright, so they do need medical assistance just to be monitored. If you use Narcan, when in doubt, someone falls over, they're not breathing, and we'll go through the steps, you call 911 and you give Narcan, there's no harm. So if they don't have opiates in their system and you give Narcan, maybe it ends up they were having cardiac arrest or something else. Or like this, they have other drugs in their system, there's no harm whatsoever. Narcan it's just kind of, if you're overdosing, this is gonna help. I could take Narcan right now, I could put it into my nostril and there would be no harm. Signs of an overdose: blue, gray skin, non-responsive. So you can see here the sternum rub. If you see someone, they have a gurgling sound, they're blue, pale in skin, and their breathing has slowed, maybe even stopped, you do the sternum rub. So what that is you take your knuckles, your sternum's right here, and you would press really hard. Someone who is not overdosing, they might be nodding off, they might have a lot of opiates in their system, but they're not overdosing, they will come to, or they'll arouse, they'll give you some type of response, even if it's like, Someone who's overdosing is not gonna respond because this hurts. This is what it looks like when it comes out. This red tag is down, this is just a strainer. You would insert it into the person's nostril and you just press that button. It is sensitive, so don't press the button until it's in the nostril, and then it just bursts out. So it takes about 2 to 3 minutes. In that time, you're monitoring the person. You're welcome to give rescue breaths if it's someone you know. What rescue breathing is you're essentially giving oxygen to that person, because all that is happening in an overdose is that they don't have oxygen. So if you're giving them some breaths in that time span of 2 to 3 minutes, you're providing the receptors to get some oxygen. So this is a little bit better of a, I have my fingers, this is showing, knocks it off. Those are the opiates getting off the receptors. So these are myths that are debunked. So naloxone does not make people violent. So there's a myth that naloxone makes people violent. Waking up from an overdose is very scary. People can react in a certain manner. There's people standing over you. Imagine if you went to bed and you wake up and there's all these people and lights in front of you and you're like, what is going on? That's the same, but the Narcan did not cause that. And I should mention naloxone and Narcan are interchangeable. Naloxone is the drug, Narcan is the brand name. So Narcan does not cause someone to be violent. People do not become tolerant to naloxone, so if you give Narcan to someone, they're not addicted to Narcan, you can't become addicted to Narcan. And that's been a myth that's out there, that people can become addicted to it, but also tolerant to it. So you give it to someone who overdoses, they overdose again, you give it again, you don't build a tolerance to Narcan. It just might be the fact that they have more opiates in their system and it hasn't
Drugs are
worked.
stronger.
Yep. Naloxone can not get a person high. Again, the addiction piece, that someone cannot get high off Narcan. And naloxone only reverses effects from opiates. So again, reiterating this information. Administering the Narcan as soon as it's available. These are your steps. They're not, you don't have to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's not a checklist. These can, however your
in the
situation
moment,
is.
you never know.
You never know.
I've responded a few times and they've not always been sequential like that.
If you don't have your cell phone on you right away, you give the Narcan, then you go get your cell phone to call 911. You have it there, you call 911, you go get the Narcan. It's all situational, but these are how to respond to an overdose overall. And in the moment, just remember Narcan, 911, and monitor. Be there for the person. If, for whatever reason, if you're gonna leave the situation before help arrives, maybe you don't feel comfortable being there, again, all situational, leave the person in the recovery position. And the reason for this is some people do aspirate, or can aspirate. They might vomit and choke on their vomit. You wanna make sure that they're on their side and capable of surviving while you're not there monitoring. So what the recovery position looks like is they're on their side, they're laying down, this is the ground. Bear with me. And you put the leg over, this arm is here, and then you bring the top arm over as well to support the head. You wanna keep it, it's just like any other medication. You don't want to have it in a boiling car, for instance. You know, we live in New England. You've seen it the past couple days. It could be really hot one day, it could be really cold the next. You wanna have this room temperature. So I typically keep it in my purse, and my purse is with me where it's not 90,000 degrees and is not freezing. Some people keep it in a junk drawer in their home or above the fridge, but I just don't recommend leaving it in your car because the cars get a lot harder or a lot colder. So avoid the freezing, avoid the hot. Like I mentioned, we're going to make these in the next month or two, make these available in more public places, take the stigma out of it, put it behind the inside of public restrooms on the door. I feel like that's where a lot of people see flyers and whatnot, so we're hoping that it can just be something that you can grab along with other resources and where to get Narcan if you can't get it from us. So any of the CVS, the Walgreens, any of the pharmacies, and then also Manic
Recovery centers.
Recovery centers. South Shore Peer Recovery in Scituate and Weymouth, but then also Manic Community Health Center in Hull and Quincy and Weymouth. So they have contact numbers up here as well. So if you do have questions, you can always reach out to myself, Emily, Kristen, but please take as many as you would like with you.